Y'all, I'm Taurey Henson.
And I'm Darrin Henson, and you're watching and listening to the
In the Groove podcast.
Now today I'm going to answer questions that you guys have been asking about my acting career, about acting, how to get in the industry, what happens in the industry, what to expect, and I'm going to do my best to answer all of those things for you. But remember, to whom much is given, much is required.
So let's get it started with one of the first questions. When you're first starting out as an actor, when you first started out as an actor, what are some of the things, what some of the steps that you took to get on that path?
As an actor, for me, I didn't really know much about acting. To me, it was like ready, shoot, aim, meaning I went and I went. So when people ask me about Soul Food, which happened in 2000, right? So that's 22 years ago. I went to an open call audition and I just auditioned for it and I did the best that I could. When I got the callback, a callback is when you go out on an audition and they like you and they bring at least 5 to 10 people back who are possible people for the role. Right. So what I actually did was I locked myself in the hotel room in Los Angeles for 5 days. I never left the hotel room. And I watched Soul Food, the movie with Mekhi Phifer, who originated the role of Lem Van Adams.
One.
Yeah. And I watched that movie maybe 20 hours a day. You know,
wow.
I mean, I got sleep, which was probably only about 5 hours because I was nervous the whole time, but I let it play. I listened to his cadence. I literally went and got exactly what he wore in the Soul Food movie.
Yeah.
And I bought it. So the same jeans, the same top, like everything that he wore in the movie, I wore at the callback. So for me, it was like role modeling. And I find that that's one of the things that is important that I think that people need to do. I was taught this by Tony Robbins. He said role model, meaning if you read a person's autobiography and they're talking about how they became popular and what they do, then you study that and you do the same exact things. Chances are 99.9% of the time you'll end up in a similar position as them because the actions will equal results. And so for me, it was exactly what I did. I just did exactly what I saw and what I heard, but with the new words, and I guess that's how I got the role.
So you watched Soul Food the movie with Mekhi, but how did you create, Lem for yourself? How did you kind of take what you saw Mekhi do and create Lem in how you saw him?
Well, Mekhi Phifer's a talent, an energy of his own, and that's the thing about acting. You have to bring yourself into the role. You have to call upon your own experiences. If you don't do that, you're faking it. And we don't like seeing people fake it on the screen. You've seen bad movies before. I've seen bad films.
We've seen bad movies.
Bad TV shows, right? And when we say that, it's because we don't believe the actor.
Right. It's just they're reading words off of a script. It's not, like you say, them believing it, them knowing the character.
Right. And so what happens is I learned. I had a conversation one time with Al Pacino. This is something that he said. Look at this picture. Now, that was Al Pacino, right? So we had a conversation, and one of the things that he told me was, you have to drop into the reality of your character. You have to have empathy for your character. Meaning, you don't judge your character harshly, but you have empathy for where he is because he's a human and you want to play the human aspect of your character, which is all flawed. We as human beings are flawed.
Right.
And so that was magical for me. Number one, to spend time with Al Pacino.
Yeah.
Number two, for him to give me advice about how to study and look into a character. And so when you look at how I play Orlando Duncan on The Family Business, right?
Right.
There's great pain coming from that family. There's a lot of,
especially this season.
Yeah.
Especially this season.
Season 4. This
it's intense. It's intense, you guys.
It's incredible. And so, he's he's been put into a position by his father. He's fighting for his son's life, trying to find the proper donor for his son's life. He's trying to win April back, right? And still be involved in the family business.
Ruby back. He's trying to get Ruby back.
Right? So there's so much that's going on in his life that can't be easy. So I have to play the truth of that. And the truth isn't always pretty.
Right.
So my advice to you people out there who want to act is to stop trying to be cool. Stop trying to be the person who looks the greatest. Sometimes we don't look the best. Sometimes we're not shaven. Sometimes our hair grows in patches, right? Sometimes we have sleep in our eyes. Don't try to look perfect all the time. Play the character. That's so important in life.
Especially how it plays out on screen.
Yeah, because life is about teachable moments. I tell people this all the time. If you don't spend time getting to know yourself, how can you learn to deal with someone else? And if you get to know yourself, then you know what you don't want to deal with in other people. It's about telling the truth.
So looking at your, this is the fourth season of Family Business, and looking at your character Orlando from season 1, he was a playboy, he promoted to CEO of the company, to where he is right now as a father. Can you speak to the evolution of the character Orlando and how that's affected you, how you had to play that? What were some of the things that you went through to grow his character, to get to the point where you're giving so much pain and emotion about the current situation with Orlando's son?
Well, first of all, shout out to Carl Weber for creating such an amazing characters.
Yes.
And Andy Brown and Trey Haley, they're producers, and Trey Haley directs the show. He directs all the episodes. But Carl Weber, they were books first, and a lot of you guys already read the book, so you were excited about the show manifesting. When I remember, this is a true story. So I write vision boards all the time, right? And so this particular year, I was writing a new vision board, and there was an actor that I put on the vision board. His name is Armando Asante. You guys know him from American Gangster. He was the guy that was talking to Denzel's character, Frank Lucas, and he was going, Frank, you can have money and have enemies, or you can be broke and have friends, Frank. What are you going to do, right? He's that guy. But there was a movie that he did called Mambo Kings.
Oh,
that I loved.
Yes.
And he was so brilliant in that, and I love that movie so much, and I wanted to work with him. Well, I put him on my vision board. 3 weeks later, Andy Brown called me and said, I want to talk to you about something we have going on. The Family Business at first was being filmed as a movie. And I said, okay, what do you got going on? She started telling me. I didn't know who Carl Weber was. I just didn't know. But she told me, she had explained that, they were turning these books into a film. And so it's cool. I had worked with her before and tried Destin before. And I said, well, who's in it? And she said, Ernie Hudson. I was like, the Ernie Hudson? And she was like, yes. And I said, well,
Ghostbusters.
Yeah, Mr. Ghostbuster, right? But I mean, so many other characters he played. Like he did this movie with Wesley Snipes called Sugar Hill, where he played a character named Lolly and was like devious. You know what I'm saying? He was that dude in Sugar Hill. So I was excited about, working with him. And then I said, who else? And then she said, Armando Asante.
Who?
And I was like, wait a minute. Armando Asante, the Italian actor, Armando Asante?
Yeah.
She was like, yeah. And I was like, hold on, Andy, stop. Like, I had to break it down to her about my vision board. Mm-hmm. But it shows you how powerful vision boards are. If I tell you anything, I'm telling you, write your vision down and make it plain. Hold the vision and trust the process. Period. I heard Deion Sanders say one time, people asked him what was his scent. He said success. He said, They said, what are you wearing? He said, success. He said, I sweat, I smell like success. And I've always thought about myself that way.
Yeah.
Right? No cap. I've always thought about myself as a successful person, from dancing to choreography to acting to producing. I move with the mentality and thought of success. But I also know that everything is created in the mind before it gets manifested into the physical world. So I say to all of those people who desire to become something, be it, walk it, talk it, think it, write it, act like it, dress like it, crave it, and it will become. You have to first be, and then it comes. That's the compound word, become. And so I look at everything like that. I don't think you can fake it in life anymore.
No.
I don't think that you can do half the work and expect the full, gratification. You're only going to get half of it because you only did half the work. If you only put 10% in, you're only going to get 10% back. But if you remove fear and you ask more of yourself than anybody could ever ask of you, it'll happen.
Right.
It has to. It's universal
it has
law.
to, especially when you write it down and you put vision behind it when it's something that you can't see. You could see it in your mind, and that becomes your reality. The thoughts that you focus on, the things that you think about, the way that you talk to yourself, all of that manifests in the physical. So clearly you're a professional. Do you study any methods in acting? Do you use any of that when you're trying to get into character, when you look at a new script?
Absolutely. I have acting coaches.
What types of methods? Okay.
So I'm a character actor. So if you've seen me in The Family Business, right, or you've seen me in The Express playing Jim Brown, or you've seen me play Grant from Stomp the Yard, all those are different characters. They look different, they sound different. I believe in character acting, and for me, it's about dropping into the character. Yeah. It's getting to know the mindset, how they walk, how they eat, how they talk, how they sleep, how they go to the bathroom. It's all a part of, becoming the character. When people saw me in Stomp the Yard, they loved the movie, but they couldn't stand Grant.
Yeah, a lot of people, that's what they say, right? Like they didn't like that character, and only because of how well you portrayed.
Yeah, you have a lot. You have a lot of people in life that you don't like. You don't like everybody, right? Yeah. So I played a character who was very dogmatic, who was very egotistical. He was very, very prideful, and he was great at what he did.
Very talented, smart,
but he was dogmatic. He wanted what he wanted, when he wanted it, how he wanted it. And, so there are people like that in the world. So that's the character that I played. When you look at a movie like Black Coffee, shout out to Mark Brown, who wrote and directed Black Coffee, also a Tridestin produced film. The character, we loved him in my character in Black Coffee because he was a listener, he was a student. He's a man who was completely opposite.
A hard worker, very earnest, very lovable character. We wanted to see your character in Black Coffee win.
Yeah, and so to me, those characters, they have all different personalities, and so as an actor, it's always my job to play their truth.
Right.
And so it's important for me to be able to convey it to people that, come as you are, but you can't stay as you are. You have to grow into the profession. You can't just show up thinking, I'm going to act today. Did you study your lines?
Yeah.
There are people who walk on set. I consider it completely disrespectful when people show up and they're getting ready to shoot a scene and they're on their phone. Why the fuck are you on your phone? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's no respect for yourself, your character, or the person that you're in the scene with. To have a fucking phone ringing on set. And it happens.
Yeah.
And I think it's completely disrespectful when that happens.
So speaking of that, a lot of people have asked questions. They're booking jobs and they want to know, what is set etiquette? How do you conduct yourself on set? What are things that a great actor does?
Well, I think a great actor prepares before they get on set. They're not studying their lines on set, and a lot of that shit happens all the time. People come to set and they start looking at their lines. You mean you didn't look at it before you came to set?
How do you prepare?
I'm prepared before I get to set. So, look, people are smart. People know when they've done the work. People know, when somebody's telling the truth on screen and when they're not. We used to call it black, don't get caught black-thing. Black acting.
Wait, what does that mean? What does that mean? Break it down for us so we know.
Like when you have predominantly black cast, sometimes you look at a show or a movie and you don't believe them. You don't believe the film.
Like the over dramatic kind of.
Yeah, whatever it is, you don't believe them.
Yeah.
And it doesn't ring true, and so you don't want to get caught black-thing. And so our job as actors is to just tell the truth.
Right. So I understand the preparation, being on set, being a professional. Has there ever been a time when it was hard for you to break a character after filming?
Oh, yeah.
Can you tell us about
Yeah.
that? What happened?
Yeah. So there's a story that Lawrence Fishburne tells about when he was in What's Love Got to Do with It? The Tina Turner story.
Yeah.
And he will tell you, and he has said you wouldn't have liked him when he was filming that, because clearly Ike Turner wasn't that nice of a guy when it came to how he treated Tina Turner. For Lawrence Fishburne to drop into that character, he went all the way in. And sometimes it showed up in his personal life. Like, I think this. There are times where, I'll sleep in another room.
Yeah.
Right? And we don't sleep in the same bed together because I need to be separate from you, right? Because I might still be in a character's head. And I don't want to speak to you the way a certain character I might be playing would speak to you.
Right.
So I have to honor the character, right? And sometimes separate myself. Who's a genius at this is Christian Bale. He does it all the time. And we've heard one time it went viral where he was screaming at somebody on set because,
with the phone ringing.
Yeah,
I remember that video.
Or walking in front. I don't remember exactly the situation, if it was a phone ringing or somebody walking in front of something in his eye line, but it pissed him off because they weren't cognizant of him being in character. And it's so important for people to allow the actors the freedom on set to be.
To be in their art, to be artistic.
To be, yeah.
So you told me a really interesting story about Al Pacino on the set of Gucci, I think the movie was, with the actor Jared Leto. Mm-hmm. Can you tell the story, please?
Well, Al Pacino, to show you how deep Jared Leto is, Al Pacino had met him outside of makeup, but when he was on set, the character that Jared developed, Al Pacino didn't know what actor was inside of the prosthetics. And I thought that was amazing for a genius actor, a brilliant actor like Al Pacino, right? Like, yeah. I mean, come on, it just doesn't get any better, right? For him not to know that was Jared in the suit is everything. So it shows you how deep some people go into character to play that character. And to me, that's what I desire to do. Those are how you develop those life teachable moments. Like in my book that I wrote, which is called Life's Teachable Moments. So here's this book that I have. You can get this on godsbillboardtshirt.com. And I talk about how I use a lot of the teachable moments in my life Darrin's life in my character,
Yeah.
right? Like there was some times where, you know what I'm saying, where people, I remember I went back to New York and I called a couple of friends of mine who called a couple of friends, called a couple of friends, called a couple of friends, and I walk into this restaurant and it's like 30 people in the restaurant. I only called 3 people. So I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Like there was people there that I didn't like.
Like it was like, hey, I'm in New York, come see me, let's hang out, let's
Yeah,
grab dinner.
and they called and they called and they called, and by the time, you know what I'm saying, we sitting down, there's 30 people in the restaurant, and of course, at the end of the night,
Ooh, the bill
the
came.
bill came to me.
The bill came.
So I looked, nobody moved. I took the bill. I said, excuse me, I was going to the bathroom. I went to where where the register was. I silently paid the bill. I walked around the other way and I left. Right? I paid everybody's bill. Because I believe that they weren't expecting to pay. Because, Darrin showed up.
Yeah.
Darrin's a Hollywood dude. Darrin got money. Darrin. And so to me, that was a teachable moment in my life. And what I realized is people will always use you if you let them and if they can. So never put yourself in a position of compromise. Always know, like DMX says, always expect people to be who they are.
Right. And you
Don't
learn
expect
that
anything
firsthand.
else. Expect them to be who they are.
Do you think that being in the position that you are in has taught you that more so?
Yeah. And those are the things that I use in my acting. Those are the things that I approach acting with. Look, you heard a long time ago. Don't wait for others to do what you could do for yourself. There is no help coming. There is no help coming. If you don't do it, it's not going to get done. And so that's how I live my life. You know that.
I do.
It's about moving forward. It's about not complaining no matter what happens. And just go through it, grow through it, so I can ultimately glow through it.
Amen. So we have Life's Teachable Moments that's available. Can you tell me about Ain't That the Truth?
Ain't That the Truth is a book of positive daily affirmations. There's so many different things in here. Like this one quote says, don't expect people to understand your grind when God didn't give them your vision.
Yeah.
Right? So you can't expect people to understand something when God didn't give you the vision. And then of course, Intimate Thoughts and the Spirit of Change is a powerful book of my poetry because I believe that everything has to change.
Yeah.
And you have to be in the spirit and accept change as it happens. So all of these books can be found on my website, godsbillboardtshirts.com, along with my positive affirmation t-shirts.
God's Billboard t-shirts.
Yeah.
So I will say Intimate Thoughts is one of my favorite books. To me, it's real. It's a truly an intimate look at you and just the stuff that you were writing at the time, the things that you were going through at the time. And there are even parts where you can see like stuff that he wrote out, like handwritten. And I think that just really shows the authenticity of your work. But I love Ain't That the Truth because of the affirmations in there. And there's one that I just thought was really funny and it always stuck with me. It's not that it runs in your family, it's just that no one runs in your family.
It's talking about diabetes.
Yeah.
Right?
Because people are quick to say that, oh, it runs in my family, high blood pressure, it just runs in my family.
No
but
doubt.
It's like, it doesn't. It's really because
you don't exercise, you don't eat right? So that was that one quote.
Yeah.
I forgot about that one, right? It says
one of my
it's not
favorites.
that heart disease runs in your family, it's just that nobody runs in your family.
Right, and you might look at that and say like, how is that a positive affirmation? But it's really a good look at saying, oh, that's true. It's like, it's not that it runs in your family. It's like, no, you have to decide to break generational curses and do something about it. Like you said, no help is coming.
Yeah, no help.
You just got to get up and do it yourself.
And you know about that. I mean, there's so many different things that you've done and that you had to break and work through. And I'm so proud of you. And I got to tell you, babe, you look beautiful.
What?
You look beautiful. Your
Stop
African,
it.
your African
My
shells.
puka shells.
Yes, they look beautiful, and I'm really glad that we're doing this together, and
Definitely.
you
And
know,
we have God's Billboard t-shirts. It's
Yeah.
a positive affirmations, like you heard. We've got you go through it to glow through it, and ultimately grow through it. My t-shirt line is All Natural Queen. It's something just from my heart. It is really just talking about women being queens and honoring that in who they are. So those are on my website, allnaturalqueen.com and godsbillboardtshirts.com. I hope that you enjoyed this episode today. Hopefully we'll get a part 2 to hear more about your journey as an actor and your directing and producing. I'm Taurey Henson.
I'm Darrin DeWitt Henson, and
And you've been grooved.